I want to build multiple log cabins just using hand tools. I've really been working on this project for many years, but now's the first time where I'm really trying to combine everything together, make real progress towards buying this property and building these log cabins. So this is a really exciting adventure for me. This is the first video, and this will go over many years. And at the end, I don't know if I'm going to actually achieve this. Maybe I'll have this property with all these off-grid log cabins. Maybe I won't. Maybe this picture will hang in that big log cabin. But this video series for me is committing to this goal to have these off-grid log cabins in the woods, and we'll see how far we get. So every stage is a learning process. Everything I do in these videos is learning to get to this point where I can build these log cabins. So once this is all set up, I'd really like to do like a summer camp for kids. So the kids would come and sleep in one of these log cabins. They would help build log cabins. They would learn about renewable energy, how to be environmentally friendly. They would learn all this stuff and see what it's like to live in an off-grid situation. And then these kids would then bring this into their lives, this learning, and maybe make a difference and make the world more renewable in the future. I think students would have fun having the power to make something to change your daily life. Imagine you're living in a log cabin during this summer camp, and you can build something to make your life easier. You can build a wind turbine and see the power that it produces. You can see that it's lighting lights at night, so you can see at night. These students would really learn how important it is to make this kind of stuff in an off-grid situation. Would also have parts delivered, like broken cars and a bunch of stuff from the e-waste recycling place, so they could take apart things and use motors in different projects. So it could be lots of makerspace projects, but these projects would be more focused on things that actually make a difference in your life, instead of just, a fun robot that just drives around for no reason. So for the wind turbine that you have here, you can see it has like a motor generator there, and this is going to be carved blades. These are blades I've carved myself for a wind turbine that work really well. They'll probably be quite a bit bigger than this. I think this is 1.5 meters, so they might be like 2 meters or a little bit bigger, or I could have like 5 or 10 of these smaller wind turbines. This wind turbine, it's all wood here. It has a furling system, so if the winds get too strong, it turns away. I have videos of a wind turbine I built like this in Mexico, so you can check that out in the description. And this motor generator here could be like a treadmill motor. So you go and find a broken treadmill and you get this motor. And I've already done that. So it's very heavy. This high voltage DC motor can be used as a generator. This is from a treadmill. It makes the treadmill move so you can run on it. And this motor would then be that little black thing. So that is this big thing. Could also maybe be used with a large gear to increase the speed here, like a belt system for hydropower. These just make really good generators. I really just want is completely empty property. The property needs at least trees so I can build the log cabins. It would be great if it was by the lake. Of course, that's more expensive, but we do need access to water, so we have to figure out how we're going to do that, and then have as much renewable energy as I can. So in this picture, I was very lucky that I got property that has a river for hydropower. It's by a lake, so there's lots of wind, and it's on a lake facing south, so we get a lot of sun for the solar panels. And I want to build this and live here, either maybe as like a summer home or as a permanent place for me and my family. So we have my wife, myself, and my son here who's jumping in the water. In the link in the description, you'll find cheap wind turbine videos where I build small log cabins. There's even a video where I build a stove out of clay that you can cook on with a stove top. So this is all kind of old technology I'll be mixing in here with really cheap new technology like the solar power. There'll be wood-burning stoves in both buildings for heating and for cooking, but also electric appliances. We'll grow our own food. Everything will be like sustainable. And it's, for me, a really fun test to build this kind of stuff. Everything is just about being cheap. It will take a long time. I've built small log cabins before, and it takes a really long time. So I'll probably go into the woods the first year, cut down all these trees, take the bark off, let them dry for a full year, then go back the next year, and it will probably take me like a whole summer to build the smallest cabin. So here I'll be camping on the property, building the smallest cabin. Then the next year will probably take me 2 or 3 years to build the big cabin. Like, it's a serious project. So this is going to be my workshop, the small cabin, but initially it's going to be the house. So we'll have the wood burning stove, maybe there'll be a small upstairs bed, so we can live in this small cabin while I'm building the bigger cabin, which will be the house in the end. And I don't know if I'm going to end up with 2 log cabins or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever. There's just a limit to how big you can build a log cabin. So with the log cabin, each cabin is kind of like a big room of a house. So then I was thinking I'd just have multiple log cabins because I can't move huge logs. And also when you look at a tree, it's good to get like 2 logs out of a tree. So there's a limit to how big you can build a log cabin and still get 2 logs out of the tree. Otherwise, you're cutting down way more trees to build this bigger cabin. So there is a certain size that kind of works for log cabins. In this video, I'll start with a scale model of this first smaller log cabin. I'm building out of small branches, and then I'm going to practice building the roof. I have a few log cabin builds, but I've never built the roof the way I want to build in full scale. So I'm going to build a scale model of that first, since I don't have any land right now. And then I want to build all of this as a scale model with the larger house with the upstairs all made out of small logs, and maybe even a third house. Then I'm going to build wind turbines in scale, have small solar panels. So this is the model that I'm building in this video, where I take sticks and I carve them out. I'm using the same techniques I'll use in the full scale. And this is going to be one of the smaller buildings. This is a pretty big model. This would be that building right there. Bigger building, much bigger model. And I'll have them all together, and I can also have them like at Maker Faire, where you can see this whole off-grid setup with the wind turbine, the water wheel, and everything. And for solar panels, I have these solar panels. They're 1-watt solar panels, so it's a really good scale to fit onto the roof of the models. This building will probably also have solar panels on it. In reality, they might all be facing south like this one, so that we have more roof area for solar panels. I'm just so excited to start this project. So I'm really excited about the model because I'll be able to test a lot of things in the model. I can use one of these cheap Arduinos from AliExpress, and I can put it here inside the cabin, and then I can run a bunch of wires to the solar panels, and I can put it outside, and I can measure how it's charging at night, and I can have batteries. I'll probably use supercapacitors at the beginning, just because they're easier to charge and discharge. I can have LED lights in here. I can have all these different things where I'm testing the system and how the programming works on the Arduino for these different systems. I want to make and program everything myself. And then when I actually build these log cabins, I can just take this Arduino with the program and maybe increase some MOSFETs or something to turn things on and off, and I have a system that will work for the full scale, which is super exciting. So it's a model, but it's actually really useful as well for full scale. Here I am in a forest in Norway, cutting branches off for my log cabin model. I was cutting them in lengths about as long as my saw, so it could fit in my backpack. I was looking for very straight branches that were about the diameter of my thumb. I measured the branches' diameter and their length to see how big of a cabin I could build with these branches. I started removing the bark with an axe, but this was very slow and heavy. The axe did work very well, chopping these knots on the branches. Then I switched to this knife, so chopping the knots was a little bit harder, but it just flew through this bark. It was like peeling a carrot. I had so much fun. It was just like, I just couldn't believe how much bark I could remove so quickly. I find woodworking like this to be extremely relaxing. I love just going for half an hour, taking off some bark. It just really relaxes me so I can do other tasks. There's one branch with all the bark removed. So it took me a while to shave off all the bark, but now I made this simple tool to drill out the joints for the log cabin. So I like these saddle joints, where it's basically you just take a half circle out of the top log, and then you just sit it on top of the bottom log like that. So that did a really good job. It was really fast. I think carving these by hand, I'm going to have like 80 of these or something. So we clamp this tool together with the log that we're trying to make a saddle joint, just so it's half in there like that. And then we go with the drill. Through half of the stick. So I open this up. You can take the tool and the stick out. And you can see it just drilled out that piece. That was the first one. Here's the second one. Really nice and fast. Nice saddle joints. What's left in the hole saw is this little piece I got cut out. You just cut out this piece. I'm taking this thick, one of the thickest logs I have, and I'm splitting in half, and this is for the bottom log. It's a pretty good split. So split log isn't sitting flat, so I have to carve the bottom a little bit to get it to sit flat. Takes a little bit of work here to get this one to sit flat. This is all the same stuff I'd be doing on full scale, so it's fun to do it in real life. Splitting these, I'd have a bunch of wedges. I'd split it, but it wouldn't split perfectly straight, so I'd have to take down the high points. So this part here was high, so I'm carving, taking a little bit off here. And then once I do that, and I check it over here, and I'm checking for this crack. But the other one, it's not really fixable. I cut one of these in half, so I have the same length and thickness piece just from the other side, and I'm going to split this one and see if I can get another good piece out of it. So this is the first long piece. This is 400 millimeters long, so the long side of the cabin, and then we have those ones we split, which is 250 millimeters long on the short side. All right, that's great. This will be the foundation of the log cabin model. And you can see those saddle joints I made, they need to be a little bit wider at the bottom. So I think I'm going to use this as kind of the basis and then do a little bit of carving to get it to fit better. These are the biggest logs I have. So a lot of the smaller logs, so I've organized them from biggest to smallest. The smaller logs will do a lot better because they'll have some clearance there. And then the thinner ones, I'm going to make the roof. And I've never built the roof of a log cabin, so I'm excited to see how that fits together. And actually, it's not that much different than building it full scale. It's just a lot faster, obviously. There's a lot less chopping. And you're using mostly a knife instead of an axe. So I'm numbering them because they only fit together in pairs. So there's a joint 1, 1, there's joint 2, 2. I just started the base here, so I actually ended up gluing it on this piece of MDF. So right now only the bottom 4 are glued with hot glue on the inside. And they're looking pretty good, but it's a lot of work. This is just 8 joints. So there's gonna be a lot of joints in this thing. I already broke this tool. I split it across here. You can see this top part came off, but just with some hot glue and some bracing pieces with the grain perpendicular, and it's working really well again. So when it broke, I was like, oh no, but then it took me like 10 seconds to fix, so it's working. So the initial saddle joint is drilled through, but then especially at the bottom here, where I have really large logs at the bottom layer, I use this tool to kind of just like scoop it out. So that's really good to open it up. So you can see I really opened up the joint here on both sides so I can fit around the much larger logs at the bottom. You can see the difference here. This is the bottom. Just those 4 logs are really big, and the standard ones are much smaller. So I'm building this model of a log cabin that I've been thinking about for a long time, and I've always had my doubts. Is this a good idea? Seems like it's just a toy. A lot of times I feel like it's a really bad project. Other times I'm super excited. So we'll have to see at the end of the project how I feel with the finished log cabin. So as a maker, I always think about making lots of different things, and some things I think are better than others, right? So maybe I have some art that I think that, oh, that's not making, or this isn't making, or it has to be more high tech. It needs to have programming, let's say. It needs to have Arduinos, otherwise it's not a real maker project. And I think that gets in your way a lot. So I'm building a model of a log cabin. It's fun for me. I'm making something. I'm passionate about it. So that's making. You shouldn't put these boundaries on yourself. If you're interested in making something, especially if you think about it over and over again, don't let people tell you no. Don't second guess yourself. Don't stand in your own way. All the self-doubt or making sure it's not a perfect project or whatever. Just do it. And as you do it, you'll learn and it'll evolve and it'll become what you really want it to be. But when you're just thinking about it and you're getting in your own way, that's really where you're stopping yourself from getting started. So I think you just have to jump into these projects and just have fun with it.